Hey everybody, Zach again at newtotorah.com coming in and making a video for you today. It's another edition of Udder Chaos where we have our raw milk with Sal Baldovino, and we're enjoying our highly illegal substance here and talking about the things of the day. And so let's just go ahead and get started with this. Good stuff, right?
It's so good when it's cold.
So, there's a lot to talk about, and it's Passover season, and Sal was talking to me about some of the things that are on his heart about that, and also, we just had a big election the other day or yesterday, and so we're talking about that today too. There's a lot of stuff going on Facebook and social media about all this stuff amongst people who think like we do, and I thought it'd just be a good idea to talk about it. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, we can definitely get started on what it means to be entering into this season. I have found in being in this movement, this lifestyle, that when you look at Scripture, Passover or the events leading up to Passover were a time of trials, a time of hardships and really getting beaten down before you're truly liberated and you get to go out into the wilderness. And in that pattern, I've seen a lot of people over the last few years, as they come into this knowledge, as they come into this movement, if you will, they get very zealous. And I'm happy about that. I'm happy that they're zealous for the word, but there's got to be a balance. And if there's anything that you take away from this message, this particular segment, is that we've got to find a better way to reach our brothers, because we have to remember where we came from. And it hurts my heart now knowing that I was just as bad when I first came out of the church, in posting memes and, kind of these sarcastic, trapping questions, if blah, blah, blah is this, then blah, 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 that. And you're being a smart ass, and that someone's going to read it. And what is the motive behind what you're posting? You're looking to make someone mad or to fire them up. If the true motive is for them to look at the scriptures and to look at the true origins of X, Y, and Z pagan thing, and even that, new information has been coming out that maybe the stuff we've been sharing about pagan origins isn't 100% accurate. So we really got to be smart about how we're disseminating the information. One of the things that if you are a friend of mine or you follow me on Facebook is do your research. You have got to do your research. You can't just hit that share button and go about your business, because
Facebook is full of clickbait today. Most of the stuff is just not true. I saw something the other day. It was like President Obama has declared a third term and all this stuff, and people were clicking on it and going, "Oh my gosh, I knew it!" And I'm like, guys, it's a fake article.
Yeah.
And Facebook is just full of stuff like that where it's stupid.
It's very stupid, and really I can't help but call someone who does that stupid, because you're not taking the 2 minutes that it takes to realize that it's a satire website or it's a completely bad article that was taken completely out of context. And I think the bottom line here is don't look for confirmation bias, or don't look for articles that confirm your beliefs, because you've talked about this in Apologetics, is that you've got to look at the other side. What is the other side of the argument?
You got to hear an argument, and you got to hear an argument and then go out and find out who disagrees with that argument and why, before you can do that. And I mean, I know there's some of the stuff going on about the whole pagan, origins of Christmas and Easter, and people are questioning some of that. And some of that I completely disagree with. I think that this stuff is absolutely solid in its pagan origins. But people are running away with that ball into areas where they don't need to go, and they're making stuff up. So the thing, if you're gonna go out and have an argument against, with people who are celebrating these holidays, just make sure your facts are straight. But there is some, if we are called to be salt, in my opinion, irritates. You put salt on a wound and it's going to hurt. And so salt purifies, it irritates, it makes things pure, and it cleanses. But again, I think there's a fine line with being completely abrasive and attacking when you don't need to be. And I didn't see Yeshua doing that. When people came to him and they had an agenda, he shut them down. But he didn't go out and just start attacking pagans for doing the things that pagans do, because hey, you know, that's what's a skin off my back if you're going to do those things. You know, you're a pagan, you're living in a pagan land, do what you want to do, but you know, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Exactly. And you can't, you have to look at what Yeshua's example was. And first and foremost, he came only for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And we can't make that a blanket. Okay, well, everyone on my Facebook list is that potential lost sheep. You've really got to have that discernment. You've got to see someone. For me, this is me personally, I've got to see that desire or that inkling of questioning their faith. And that right there is the opportunity to go knock on the door and say, hey.
Absolutely right.
So, I mean, yes, we can till the land. Yes, we can uproot all the bad soil so that we can plant new seed. And you can take that farming metaphor to the extremes. But you, as someone who lives agriculturally, you can speak to what it really means to till the land and why you do it and the purpose of doing it. And yes, the purpose of putting salt on a wound to purify it, what is that motive? What is the purpose of that? It is to heal. It is to bring healing and to bring purification. It's not to continue to hurt someone. It is not continuing to bring them down. Because if you take a look at my friends list on Facebook, or if you take a look at your friends list on Facebook, the general you, not just me and Zach, go look at your friends list and see how many of those people are common friends. And at that point, the percentage tends to take a shift to, okay, 90% of my friends list is already in the Hebrew roots. So you're preaching to the choir at that point. What's the point in that? If you're preaching to the choir, you're not really disseminating a message. You need to be more strategic in how you're positioning your questions. You really got to look at the apologetics movement, or even look at some videos, look at some articles on what it means to do apologetics. It's not about attacking. It's about asking questions, and it's about correctly discerning what is fact and what is tradition, and being able to then present that in a way that it's probably going to rub some people the wrong way. That's essentially the point. You're trying to get them uncomfortable in their faith, uncomfortable in their beliefs, but not to the point where they just block you or just completely remove you or shut it down. What was the point?
Yeah, if you come out of the box swinging, and you start insulting people, you're just not going to get anywhere with that. Yeah. But getting people to question what they do, I think I don't see a problem with that. I really like Ray Comfort's message, the way of the master, where he says, our Messiah, the way of the master was to give law to the hard heart. Okay. And then to give grace to the humble. So someone who comes to you and says, hey man, what is it you're doing? I really want to know. This seems really interesting. And for a while, I mean, we've all had this experience where someone comes to me and says, I've just been really researching this for a while. And I just believe that there's got to be, there's something more. The things that we're doing in the Christian church just aren't in the Bible. Please help me understand why you're doing this. It's like at that point, bing, ding, 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 ding. Yes, I was in that spot. I totally want to help you. But for someone who's coming out and attacking me, or you going out and attacking someone else, you're just not you're gonna get more attraction by just living your life and putting out little nuggets here and there, and not going on the attack all the time. People are gonna want to know more about what it is you do.
And here's the thing: the light on top of the hill doesn't go out and shine a spotlight in someone's eye. It's there. It is a beacon. So our lives should represent that. We should be that beacon. Hey, Zach's got this going on. He's really blessed. I wonder what he's doing. What is it that he has been doing, or what is it that he believes that has gotten him to this point? And that should be the motivation for someone to come to you versus you going to them and hammering it over their head. I mean, we talk about Christian Bible thumpers, and now we have the Torah terrorists and the pagan police, whatever fun label you want to put on it. We've just got to be smarter. Bottom line is we've got to be smarter.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I got to meet you for the first time this last weekend, and that was really cool. I wish we could have spent some more time together after it was all over. I'm like, dude, I should have had some time to sit down with you and do a video face to face. That would have been cool.
That would have been nice.
But I didn't have my tripod with me, and I didn't have a bunch of the stuff I would need to do that. But
you've
got really cool meeting you.
Yeah, you had a lot of people coming up to you, and out of respect for their time, wanting to pick your brain. I tend to be at the back of the room and just kind of hang out and hey, that's Sal. And I'm like, yeah, hey. But just making sure that the focus was on the teaching that you were presenting, and I really liked your part 3. So I'm eager for that to be on your YouTube channel and get that shared up. So if you haven't watched part 1 and part 2 of the Greater Exodus, I encourage you to go do that.
Yeah, I'm changing some things. It was kind of my first time giving that, putting that talk out there, and I'm going to do it again in Ava, Missouri. I got some videos coming out talking about that. But so I got a couple more times I'm going to present it before I actually go live with it on my channel, because I'm tweaking it. But I think it's pretty interesting. So, but yeah, I mean, I think I had a great time. The people who were putting that conference on in Beaumont, Texas, I mean, they really took care of me and Rob and the other guys who were there. And it was just a blessed time overall. I really enjoyed it, and hope they'll do that again, and maybe even bring some new speakers in there. You know, just, it doesn't have to be me all the time.
Right.
Just bring. I mean, it's just there's a real hunger in that part of Texas, you know, for more Torah events, and so it was really good, and I'm glad that they're doing that. And I can only do a few events a year, and so that was just one of them. One I chose to go ahead and do. But yeah, it was great. It was great meeting you, and I wish I could have met your family, and. I know they couldn't make it, but you know, next time.
Yeah, this is just a personal thing. You know, like I have 6 kids. Oh my gosh, that would be the secular reaction. But anytime you talk to someone in the Hebrew roots, they're like, "You have 6 kids. You know, your quiver is full. Awesome." But bringing bringing them into a conference environment can be a little nerve-wracking for me and even my wife, and it's just, we want to make sure that the attention is on the speakers, you know, the presentation that's given, versus, hey, be quiet, shh, hey, sit down.
We don't go many places at all because of the kids. I mean, the kids, it's just you got to stay with them, and it's hard to bring them out into public and do things like that.
And so. I loved your wife's. I had a chance to chat with her for a few minutes, and I got to see your son, and he was just like really fidgety. And she goes, "He does not know what to do." I'm like, "I bet there's no donkey, there's no grass. What do you do out here? You're stuck inside 4 walls." So it's an interesting lifestyle that, you know, coming into a city, and even something as small as Beaumont, you know, you can see the reaction in the true reaction in a child's face. Like, I don't know what to do. What is this place?
I think this is the first time he saw an elevator in his life, the youngest one. And he was just like so amazed by this thing. And, you know, the feeling that it gives when you go up and down. And, you know, we went to an event not too long ago in Fort Smith. And they put us up in like a little hotel room or whatever, you know, inside this little center they had. And we took you know, the kids were taking a bath, and they saw water come out of the faucet, you know, and they were like, it's magic, you know, this water just comes out, you know, you turn the knob. And yeah. So that, you know, they get a big kick out of going out and seeing some of the rest of the world. And they went to a friend's house for dinner that last night, right before we left, and they had their entire home automated. And, you know, my wife went into the bathroom. She couldn't figure out how to turn the lights on, you know, for the life of her.
Yeah, you gotta have your smartphone to turn it on.
Yeah, you did. I mean, like, it's crazy.
Know, Scott,
it's crazy.
He got his home automated that way. It was funny. We were having Torah study the Saturday before the conference, and I turned over to Scott because we were meeting in his house, and I said, "Scott, it's getting hot in here," because we had turned the fan off. He goes, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." And he picks up his phone and just like, boop, there you go, buddy. Like, no, you didn't. How are you gonna make it out in the woods?
Yeah, let go of the rope.
Yeah, that actually inspired a recent post on Teshuva Ministries. So if you guys,
I saw that. I read it. It was very good. Very good.
It's a humbling thought to realize how much we are holding on to the rope. And the rope can be anything. I mean, you can represent the rope as a very huge thing, like the world, holding on to the secular world, or I can hold on to the rope as my cell phone service or my internet service, or the fact that I can drive not 5 minutes away and be at a Costco, at a Walmart, at a Target. You know, all those things are the rope that you're holding on to. And the more you hold on to it, the harder it's going to hurt. Because you're essentially, if you've ever played tug of war or you've climbed a rope, you know, they always tell you don't slide down, you slow your way down, because you're going to get rope burn and it's going to hurt, and you're going to do more damage. So it's a really good, insightful message that you shared actually during lunch at the conference, about a gentleman's vision. And obviously you can talk about it a little bit more. They can read about it. But whatever that rope is for you, it's important to start to let go slowly. Yet sure, you can let go altogether, but that may cause a little bit more disruption that you're comfortable with. But understand what the rope is.
Right. Yeah. The whole vision that was shared with me is a guy who I met, and he said he had a vision, and he was holding on to this rope in this vision, and the rope was the world, and it was being pulled from him. And no matter how tight he held onto that rope of the world that represented the world, he couldn't hold on to it. It kept being pulled through his hands, and it burned. It was severe pain by holding onto that rope. And he realized that rope being the world, if the more you let go of it now, the less pain it's going to mean for you later. And so his whole thing, and trying to deal with his family, and having that ability was meaningful to him, so that it would save him and his family the pain later on of when that rope, because that rope is going to be pulled from you at some point. The rope of the world is going to be pulled from you, and just like the Hebrews when they were in the wilderness the first time, they got the rope pulled from them, and they desperately wanted a deliverer and to be free. But when they were taken into the wilderness to be cared for by our Creator, it was a hard experience for many of them, and so they complained and they moaned, and they had all these issues. And so one day when the Exodus happens to us, or even if there's an economic collapse, because let's face it, we're looking at the world today. We can get into that in a second. Is that the world is just a mess morally? The moral compass of the world has just been destroyed, and collapse will happen because our Father's word is true, and you cannot live the way the world is living and be blessed. Okay. So that means that hard times are coming. And so letting go of that rope now will absolutely help you avoid some of the pain that's coming later. That's really initially.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who have gotten into not necessarily just Hebrew roots in general, but even just the off-grid fantasy. And I'm going to use that word very constructively. It's a fantasy, right? I live in these four walls, 2,000 square feet, high speed internet, and again, I can drive 10 minutes and be at Costco. There's this fantasy, this longing to be out and doing what you're doing. And you see these videos of your homestead or other people doing, Joe Salatin teaching people how to raise chicken and then, do farming. And it's this fantasy, this romanticized version of I get to live out on the prairie. And we forget that people died. You brought this up in the conference. People died moving out west. They packed up their bags and said, hey, we're going to try this thing, and we may never see you again because either you can't get to us or we died along the way. The Oregon Trail, you have died of dysentery. So this fantasy of living a homestead life is a beautiful fantasy. I want it. I long for it. But there's a harsh reality that comes to it. And I can't speak to it. I know you can speak to it and others can, but you have to start to realize, okay, there's this romanticized version of living off grid and the potential to, have a community outside of a city. And you forget that there's no running water. There's probably not going to be very good internet. And these are the things that we've become accustomed to. And I know your children are being raised in such a way that when they see those things, it's actually odd. Like, why are people on their phones on the internet? That's how can you, what is that? What is that? I mean, we go outside and play with our toy guns, and we help dad in the pasture and whatnot. So it's just this, again, back to kind of the reality check of the Hebrew roots movement. We've got to realize, yes, it's a great goal to get to, but it isn't going to be easy. And if we go into it knowing that, I think we're going to be better prepared, because otherwise you're going to move out to some land, you're going to invest all your life into this, and you're not going to make it because you weren't truly mentally prepared as well as physically prepared. And that's what happened to the Hebrews. They had a day. They had a day to pack up and leave. And then what did they start doing? Complaining. Where's my internet? Oh, I really wish I could go to Costco right now. Man, I miss Luby's and their, happy hour specials. You don't get that in the wilderness.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, we're still learning here. It's just a giant learning experience. But I've done videos before. It's just about the attitude. You got to have the right attitude to go forward with this, and knowing that it's going to be a hard life, but it's very rewarding. And So and more of I tell people all the time. I told Rob this weekend, so much of the Torah has come alive to us by living this way and seeing life just happen over and over again every year and growing our own food. There's so much of the Torah that's awakened to us. And so, yeah, it's a learning experience, but we're enjoying it.
Yeah. And you can understand why. I mean, we can kind of transition into the topic of the state of the world and the recent election yesterday. I can understand why people want to leave. I want to leave. And I'm going to do it in his time, not my own. I'm not going to force his hand, if I can even do that, and put myself into a situation. If opportunities arise and those are truly his opportunities, I'm going to pursue them with all my heart. But if Donald Trump becomes president, I'm leaving America. Well, good luck. Good luck. There's your exit.
What do you think about the election? So, I mean, I saw, I've always kind of liked Trump, just basically because he makes the establishment so angry. But then yesterday he got up and just did the unthinkable and praised the
elites.
Planned Parenthood. Yeah, boy, he praised Planned Parenthood. And I was just like, what? I mean, because people have over and over again said he loves Planned Parenthood. But I mean, he said over and over again that he wants to defund Planned Parenthood. And I'm just like, what is he doing? And he's playing politics, and every politician. That's why I say I don't vote. I don't care. I've done politics. Long before I had a beard, I was, a volunteer lobbyist. I've worked for a lot of campaigns, and anyway, they're all crooks. They all are a bunch of crooks. You guys, a lot of people out there on Facebook, I see people getting very emotionally attached to whoever they like, and not realizing that they all play the same game. If Ted Cruz can get up as high as senator, he has made backroom deals, I guarantee you, that are ethically wrong somewhere in his past. It's just the way it goes. Anyway, so who do you think's going to win this? Is he Ted Cruz or Trump is a foregone conclusion, or what?
I mean, he won pretty big. I mean, Clinton and Trump kind of came out on top yesterday, and I think Bernie Sanders is a wishful thinking for a lot of socialists. I'm going to use that air quote out there, and they would love to see all the things that Bernie's promising, but I don't know that America will truly back.
It's impossible for Bernie to actually do that stuff. I mean, it's.
I just don't. I don't see him getting any further than the next primary. But that said, if we have Clinton and Trump, there's going to be a lot of people apparently moving out of the country. Whoever wins, a lot of people are going to be living. So there might be some land up for sale here in the next few months.
I'm going to be staying right where I'm at and just hope stay down in my hole and hope no one notices me. That's where I'm going to be.
I mean, I voted yesterday. I voted to stay home and be with my family. That's what I voted to do.
There you go.
I've become so cynical, if you will, of the whole process that. My conspiracy theorist background, my Alex Jones days, has really left a sour note in my walk when it comes to politicalness. And I can only look at what Yeshua did, right? And Yeshua did not spend every waking moment backing Caesar or this Roman emperor. He didn't do that. He said, render unto Caesar what is his. So I'm at the point where I live in Babylon, and I'm going to do what I need to do to survive in Babylon, knowing full well that I will never bow down to any other god, and I will stand up and have my head chopped off if that's what it needs to happen.
They'll never take me alive.
Right.
But no, listen. I mean, it's true. He didn't start politicking for Caesar, and he also, because we know that the priesthood was corrupt, and that was something in his internal sphere. I mean, something that absolutely did affect him and his people, and he knew the priesthood was corrupt, but yet he didn't advocate. I didn't see anywhere him advocating a replacement or going back to the proper priesthood, of the line of Aaron.
Right.
You didn't see that. You didn't see him doing that. So, I mean, even local politics, he did not get involved in. And so I'm just not, I know people want to they think it's their duty to vote, and that's fine. Go ahead and do that if you want to, but I'm not. But like I said, I did vote yesterday, and that was to stay home.
Yeah. And the individuals out there who say, if you don't vote, you don't have a right to say anything. Well, that's like saying, if I don't drive, I have to be blamed for every car accident. It doesn't make sense. If I don't
You didn't
vote,
make the road safer.
exactly. If I don't vote, I'm telling you exactly who I'm voting for, and I'm voting for the monarchy to return, the king to return and establish his kingdom, because I don't care about the Roman government that we have set up. I don't care about the ruler that is here, because Yeshua says, "Render unto Caesar what is his." So do that.
But
Do
but
that and focus.
it's fun to speculate
It is.
just watch the show. Knowing that, so you got Trump, and Rubio's basically done because he got one state, and he says he's going to stay until Florida, which I think would definitely, if he stays until Florida, Trump's the winner.
What's surprising is how much the South supported Trump, for me at least.
Yeah. If he had won Texas, though, I mean, it'd be done. It would be foregone conclusion Trump. But so there were two scenarios I saw, just to bring them up here and speculate a little bit. There were two scenarios I saw. One was Cruz and Rubio teaming up, and Cruz announcing now that, right off the bat, that Rubio is going to be his running mate, and so that they can kind of close the gap there and try to win more states to stop Trump. Or the other scenario that was talked about was that the establishment comes up with the establishment makes Rubio drop out, and the establishment puts up another candidate, Romney or somebody, as a way to try to stop Trump. What do you think is more likely, or neither?
Probably the former. Is there precedence for someone joining this late in the game and then being, a sweeping victory, over someone who has such a good majority?
I don't know, but I sincerely doubt it.
Yeah, so I definitely can't see Romney doing it. I mean, that would be a shocker, considering the last results with Romney being not elected. But that'd be interesting. It certainly would be like it would almost be like an Obama situation. He came out of nowhere to win it all. But no, I could see the former happening. Forming a super candidate, super candidacy that would move everything forward. You got the you got the Rubio supporters, all two of them, and then you got the Cruz supporters who would then have no choice really but to vote with Rubio and bring them to the foreground. I honestly, to your point, I really enjoy watching Trump. I don't like the guy. I don't think he's presidential material, but at least he's a businessman and he can set the country straight. And I don't know if it's an act. It most likely is very much an act, but he says what I'd like to say to a large populace, and it makes people uncomfortable. And that's what we need. We need to be uncomfortable with the status quo, and that's what's going to bring America back. Does it have to be Trump? I wish it wasn't, but it's fun to watch. It's not the first time a celebrity has become president.
Yeah, it is fun to watch. It's fun to watch, but it's even funner to watch when I don't have a horse in the race.
Right. It's interesting, and it's kind of sad to see people in this movement, like you said, get so emotionally involved in the politics, because what change are we really going to make? I'm sorry, your vote. If votes matter, fine. You've elected someone into office. How has that impacted you? Really? How has Obama impacted me over the last 8 years? I can't really pinpoint. Yes, my premiums have gone up, but that doesn't really impact me in such a way that I can't survive. And that's maybe not fair to say as kind of a general statement, because I'm sure it has impacted people across the board. But for me, and I'm being very selfish in that statement, for me, it really hasn't affected me. Now, what has affected me is whether or not I'm living in sin, whether or not I'm praying every day, whether or not my family is being raised upright. What I do within these four walls, I vote to have Yeshua as the head of my household and to govern how I walk. And that's the important thing. But it really is fun to watch the political game, the political atmosphere, and really see where people's hearts are with this whole matter. Is their hearts on Yeshua? Is their hearts on following it, or understanding the political game and the conspiracy theories out there? And again, those are just fun to watch, but they're not on the radar as much as, for me, as much as other people like to have them. They used to be, and I know for you used to be in politics as well. I used to follow the conspiracy theories. I used to, look out my window for the black helicopters. But I really like the point that you made about the 4,400, the 100 and 4,400. those individuals are there to protect us. And right now we have the protection of the Holy Spirit. We have the protection of Yeshua. That is a certainty. Death and Yeshua coming back are certainties for me. And I've got to live my life knowing that I've got to get to one of those. And if it's death first, then I've hope that I have lived my life and have shared the message with enough people that gets them on the right path.
Right. Yeah. Here's the deal, folks. The collapse is coming. I don't know when it's coming. I thought it was going to be back in 2008 or 2010. But it's going to be hard when it gets here. And you are severely mistaken that if you think because you're an American, you're going to somehow withstand this. There are people who are considered to be believers of our Messiah and the worshipers of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that are having their heads cut off right now in foreign lands. And, it's bad. And the only thing I tell people is get your family ready, let go of that rope, and find a way to get your family, dig a hole and crawl down in it, is because it's coming. It's coming. And so prepare your families for it. I don't think voting for this guy or that guy is going to help you at all, because here's the deal. When it comes down to it, the moral compass of this country is smashed. It's broken. And none of these guys are going to come out tomorrow and be like, we need to start keeping the Shabbat. We need to start, going back to the Torah and understanding what sin is and repenting for it, because that's the only thing that's going to save this land. I got all kinds of Christians out there who are like, all we need to do is pray. We need to pray, pray for our land and it'll be healed. No, it says in that verse, I think it's 2 Chronicles 7:14, where I don't know, I forgot to have the verse in front of me, but it says, if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and heal their land. But we don't do that. We're not turning from our wicked ways. We're praying. A lot of us are praying. But the problem is we're not turning from our wicked ways, and until we do that, and it's not going to happen, the land won't be healed. So don't think by voting for Trump or Cruz, who's a pastor, who's the son of a pastor who still eats ham sandwiches, that all of a sudden this land is going to be healed and we're going to be able to be forgiven and heal our land. That's not going to happen. So stop getting emotionally attached to these men and understand who your true king is and that he is coming. And El Presidente Cruz or Trump or Clinton or whoever, doesn't matter at that point. The moral compass of this country is broken.
I love the fact that our creator speaks to me in programming language. He said it's an if-then statement. If you're a JavaScript or .NET developer, right? It's an if-then statement. Everything is conditional. And the individuals out there, the Christians out there, really need to realize that there's no such thing as unconditional love. I may be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, people. But there's a conditional statement for the love of our creator, and that is to keep his commandments. It's if you do these, then you will get blessings. Else, okay, there's the if, then else in programming. Else you're going to get the curses of the land. All you got to do is look at Deuteronomy to say, hold on to these things because this is life. Choose life. Otherwise, what is the opposite of life? Death. So
the unconditional love is the fact that if you repent and understand what sin is and you come back to him, he will accept you. That's the unconditional love. But if you go ahead and, like you say, continue to else, you're in trouble.
The biggest thing that people like to skip over in those passages is the if. That's the biggest word. I'd like everyone to underline, highlight, circle, put in red. If you do these things, if you love me, Yeshua says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. And what I give to you is not from me, but the creator above who sent me. Well, if he said these things and he's saying that his father said them, where do I need to look? The beginning of the book. And you're not going to know the end unless you look at the beginning. And that's the important part. So you've got to go back and read your word and understand that all of creation, all of eternity rests in Genesis 1:1, and you can figure it out from there. If you can figure out Genesis 1:1, look at the Hebrew, look at the pictorial Hebrew that goes behind it, the paleo, you will understand the end from the beginning. You will understand that wisdom was there before creation. You will understand that's Proverbs. You will understand that Yeshua was slain from the foundation of the earth, flat or otherwise. And you will understand that you're not going to get revelation, and revelation, again, not told in chronological order. How are you going to understand something that is non-linear if you're not understanding the front of the book?
Yeah, very good. I understand totally. All right, we'll leave it at that, I guess. It was good to have you back, and we'll do this again. It's always good to check in and talk with the world. People give me a hard time, so you just need to be talking about Torah, on your channel. But you know what? It's my channel, and I like talking about other stuff just besides Torah. Talk about other things with a Torah perspective. I think it's healthy to do that.
Yeah, here's something that I would like people to take away. And you make this the first slide of your presentations. I'm not a teacher. I don't claim to be a teacher. You don't claim to be a teacher. I am a student and a researcher of what the Torah tells me to do. I take notes. I put those into a article. I put them into something that I'd like to share with others, and maybe they can correct and modify and help me understand things. But I don't claim to be a teacher. Why? Because teachers have such a huge responsibility. Such a huge responsibility. And that is not me skirting that responsibility. That is me saying, okay, if I'm going to be teaching something, I need to realize that I've got a lot of blood on my hands if I'm wrong. So I'm going to share information, and you and Rob, or whoever is more than welcome to say, you know what, you missed something here, or did you consider this? Hey, let me reevaluate that. We're supposed to be testing one another and sharpening one another. And if there are teachers out there who are false teachers, we have a responsibility to bring light to that. But we've got to understand, someone on your channel, last time we had a discussion, they said I'm a crackhead for what I believe in, and I shouldn't be doing these things. Guys, you're entitled to that opinion. That's fine. I'm not hurt. My feelings aren't hurt in any way. But to tell people that they shouldn't be doing something because you're holding me, or you're holding Zach, or you're holding Rob up to these huge standards of a teacher, you've got to understand that we're in the same boat with you. We're researching, we're figuring things out, we're taking down notes. Like I said, we're taking those notes and putting them into something that you can read, because quite frankly, sometimes people get lazy and they don't want to do the research. They want it spoon-fed to them, just like they did in the church. They don't want to do that research. I'm hungry for the word. You're hungry for the word. And we're putting out more information out there to help people. So if you're going to hold us up to that standard, that's whatever, that's your choice. I need to put that out there. I'm not a teacher. I have not read the word all the way through to understand it fully multiple times. And that's a goal for me. But just be careful. Just be careful who you're holding up on pedestals.
Right. I've never heard, I tell people I've never had a burning bush moment, and I'll let you know when I do, but I've never had one. So I'm just going through reading my Bible and sharing what I'm reading with others. And hopefully, if you're a mind-numbed robot and you want it spoon-fed to you, I'm not doing that for you either. I'm just looking out for other people who may be studying, that we can share ideas and get down to the bottom of this stuff. I'm thoroughly convinced that the Torah is absolutely valid today for us, and and just learning how to keep it as best as I can, knowing that I'm not going to jive with everyone out there, but I'm just trying my best, and that I'm waiting for our Messiah to come back and set us all straight.
Yep.
And he's going to teach us how to do it right. And until then, I'm not going to get it all right. Nobody else is either. So we're just trying our best, but he sees our heart and that we're trying. We know we're learning what sin is, and we're turning from it to try to keep our Father's ways, and call it that. So.
Yep, and I want to encourage people, especially now that we're getting into that season where calendar debates are really going to start to ramp up. When are you keeping Sabbath, or when are you keeping Passover? Do the best you can. That's the only answer I can give, because I believe, based on research, based on study, based on prayer, I believe the calendar falls in a certain way. If you know how I follow the calendar, then fine, but that's how I've been convicted, and my conviction is not your conviction. And we have to understand that we cannot push people and say, this is the truth, because you can come back and say, okay, well, scripture proves it otherwise. So until we are set straight, you have to rely on that conviction and that understanding until we are set straight. I think the bottom line is, if you're doing it with a good heart and the right motive, I think we're going to be okay for a while until he sets us straight.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be bogged down by the calendar debate. If you're keeping it right, do what the scriptures tell you to do, the best that you can with the information that you have, and be encouraged that there are other people who are just as confused or not fully, committed to a particular thing, but at least try it, at least do it. That's the bare minimum. Look at what Paul says to do when you're coming into this word. Give up those things, and that's it. Start from there. That's the basics of what you need to be doing right now.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to leave it at that. Hope everyone enjoyed the get together. We'll keep doing these things. I know people enjoy them, and they leave a lot of comments. If you have a comment, or if there's something you'd like to have us address next time, please leave a comment below, and we'll make sure we do that. And then also, Sal TeshuvahMinistries.net is his website, and we'll leave a link in the description also, and then newtorah.com so is mine. So, all right, had a great time. Thanks for coming back and doing another Utter Chaos.
Utter chaos. The raw milk report. Y'all go home.
All right, guys, we'll leave it at that. Go home, read your Bible.